Imagine walking into a courtroom to fight for your child, only to be told that your faith has no place there. Marcus Johnson stood tall, a simple gold cross hanging from his neck, a gift from his late mother, symbolizing her love and his strength. But when the judge ordered him to remove it or face a $500 fine, the room fell silent. What happened next would shock the nation and redefine what it means to stand up for your rights. This isn't just about a cross. It's about courage, justice, and one man's determination to change everything. The courtroom was still, a silence so thick it felt like the air itself was holding its breath. Marcus stood at the defendant's table, his hands trembling slightly as they gripped the edge of the wooden surface. He wasn't a criminal. This was a simple custody hearing, a chance to fight for more time with his daughter, Mia. But as he stood there, the weight of the cross around his neck felt heavier than ever. It wasn't just a symbol of faith. It was a reminder of the strength he needed to face this moment. Then Judge Eleanor Hayes spoke, her voice sharp and commanding. "Johnson," she said, eyes narrowing, "remove that cross or I'll hold you in contempt of court." Marcus froze, his heart pounding. Remove the cross? It wasn't just jewelry. It was his late mother's, a piece of her that reminded him of her love, her faith, and her belief in him. He opened his mouth to explain, but the judge interrupted him. "This is a court of law, not a church," she snapped. "Your religious symbols have no place here." With a thunderous crack of the gavel, Marcus was fined $500 for disrupting the courtroom's decorum. But what Judge Hayes didn't know was that Marcus wasn't just a father fighting for his daughter. He was also a Harvard-trained attorney who had spent years advocating for others. And today, he wasn't about to let anyone, even a judge, strip him of his rights. The fine was just the beginning. As Marcus left the courtroom, his mind raced. He had come to fight for his daughter, but now he was fighting for something much bigger: his dignity, his faith, and the principles this country was founded upon. He knew the law better than most, and he understood that Judge Hayes had overstepped. But challenging a judge was risky, and the consequences could be dire. Still, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about him. How many others had walked into that courtroom only to be silenced? How many had been forced to choose between their beliefs and their rights? Clenching his fists, the cross still resting against his chest, Marcus vowed he wouldn't let this stand. But as he prepared to fight back, he had no idea how far Judge Hayes would go to defend her authority, or how far he would need to go to expose the truth. For the next few days, Marcus buried himself in legal texts, case law, and constitutional precedents. He knew he needed to build a solid case, not just for himself, but for anyone who might face the same injustice. He started with the First Amendment, which guarantees the right to religious expression. Then he dug deeper, uncovering cases like Tinker versus Des Moines, which established that individuals don't lose their constitutional rights in government spaces, and West Virginia State Board of Education versus Barnett, which ruled that no one can be forced to hide their beliefs. But Marcus didn't stop there. He wanted to understand Judge Hayes. Who was she? What motivated her? What he discovered shocked him. Judge Hayes had a reputation for being tough, but over the years, several attorneys had quietly complained about her selective enforcement of courtroom rules. One attorney had been reprimanded for wearing a pink ribbon for breast cancer awareness. Another had been fined for wearing a Star of David necklace. In each case, the fines were small enough to avoid scrutiny, but the message was clear. In Judge Hayes's courtroom, her word was law. Marcus knew he couldn't fight this alone. He reached out to Sarah Mitchell, a civil rights attorney and former classmate who specialized in high-profile cases. When he told her what had happened, she didn't hesitate. "This isn't just about you, Marcus," she said. "This is about every person who's ever walked into a courtroom and felt powerless. We're taking this public." True to her word, the story exploded. News outlets ran the headline, "Judge fines Black man for wearing a cross, then discovers he's a Harvard lawyer." Social media erupted in outrage with hashtags like "You got your cross in court" and "Yoga Justice for Marcus" trending. People from all walks of life shared their stories of feeling silenced, marginalized, or targeted in courtrooms. The narrative shifted from Marcus's case to a larger issue, a system that allowed judges to wield unchecked power. Meanwhile, Judge Hayes scrambled. She issued a statement defending her actions, claiming she was upholding courtroom neutrality. But the public wasn't buying it. Legal analysts dissected her ruling, calling it a blatant violation of the First Amendment. Even conservative commentators who rarely sided with civil rights advocates sided with Marcus. "This isn't about religion," one said. "This is about fairness, and what Judge Hayes did wasn't fair." The Judicial Review Board announced it would investigate Judge Hayes' conduct, setting a hearing for 2 weeks later. The entire country watched as Marcus and Sarah prepared tirelessly, knowing this could set a crucial legal precedent. But Judge Hayes wasn't backing down without a fight. She hired one of the most powerful defense attorneys in the state, known for his ability to twist facts and manipulate narratives. The day of the hearing arrived, and the courtroom was packed. Marcus walked in with his head held high, the cross still around his neck. Judge Hayes sat at the defendant's table, her face unreadable. The tension was palpable. As the hearing began, Marcus took the stand and spoke calmly but passionately about what the cross meant to him and why he refused to remove it. "This isn't just about faith," he said. "It's about identity. It's about the right to be who I am, even in a courtroom." Then Sarah presented their case, citing legal precedents and exposing Judge Hayes' history of selective enforcement. But the real turning point came when Marcus's daughter, Mia, took the stand. At just 8 years old, she spoke with a clarity that brought tears to the room. "My daddy wears that cross because it reminds him of my grandma," she said, "and it reminds him to be strong. Why would anyone want to take that away from him?" The Judicial Review Board deliberated for hours. When they finally returned, the room fell silent. The chairman stood and read the verdict. Judge Hayes had violated judicial ethics and the First Amendment. She was suspended pending further investigation, and her ruling against Marcus was overturned. The courtroom erupted in applause, but Marcus didn't celebrate. He walked over to Judge Hayes, who sat slumped in her chair, her face pale. "This wasn't personal," he said quietly. "It was about doing what's right." She didn't respond, but the look in her eyes said everything. She had underestimated him, and now she was paying the price. The story didn't end there. Marcus's case sparked a national conversation about judicial accountability and religious expression. Lawmakers introduced new legislation to prevent similar abuses of power, and Marcus became a symbol of resilience and courage. But for him, the real victory was knowing he had stood up for what he believed in, not just for himself, but for his daughter, his community, and everyone who had ever felt silenced. If this story inspired you, don't stop here. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we bring you real stories that matter, stories of courage, resilience, and the fight for justice. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done in Marcus's shoes? Let's keep this conversation alive, and remember, the next story could be the one that changes everything. Come back for more, because together we can make a difference.